Hi then, welcome along to the Scots Reviewer Meets, a daily section where I chat to some of the biggest sort of stars taking to the stage this Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Over the festival I'll be covering loads of different sort of interviews, reviews and content on the Scots Reviewer site, but this little bit is basically a chance for you to see some of the acts like in person, with me interviewing them about sort of their shows and what they want to do at the Fringe, if they're going to see different things, and hopefully enjoy it. If you want to get in touch again at any point with the Scots Reviewer, you can do. Just email callum@thescotsreviewer.com if you want to be featured in one of these little sort of interviews. But yeah, let's get started. So I'm here today with the cast of Brexit, which has just landed here at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. How are you doing, guys?
We're great, man.
Very well.
Brilliant.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Callum, my name's Mike McShane.
Okay.
I'm Tom Salinsky. I'm the co-writer and director of Brexit.
And I'm Tim Bentinck, and I'm playing the Prime Minister.
Brilliant. So, in terms of Brexit as a topic, I know everyone knows what Brexit is. It's one of these things that it's just everyone understands what Brexit is. The comedy involved in Brexit is a key part of the whole Brexit, how it is at the moment. Was it hard finding comedy from Brexit as a topic at all?
Tom?
No. No.
Yeah.
I was in with a taxi driver on the way here, a Scots guy called William, and he was saying to me exactly the same thing. If you can't laugh at it, that's the only thing left to do about it. There's no solution to it other than to laugh at it, really.
Brilliant.
That's what we're doing.
From a writing point of view, it was actually quite a small target to hit, because we're trying to write something which hopefully, first of all, is going to appeal to anyone interested in Brexit, regardless of their personal feelings about it. Also to write something which manages to be simultaneously bang up to topical date, but also is still going to be relevant at the end of the Fringe. So we had to try and come up with something which would allow us to not be constantly rewriting every day of rehearsals. And I have to say, there was a certain amount of anxiety when rehearsals started.
Yeah.
Because if things had gone worse for Theresa May, then some of the predictions we've made might not have held. So my co-writer Robert and I were crossing our fingers saying, just get to parliamentary recess, because then hopefully everything will still be as we imagine it.
You'll have a couple of months of stasis where it actually is what it is.
Yes, exactly.
As an American, it's interesting to watch the ducking and diving that the Prime Minister that Tim plays does. I'm a campaign manager who's asked to become a chief of staff, and I'm all about getting to point, action, and definition. And it's like trying to catch a bottle of fog with the Prime Minister who wants to please both ends of his own party to a degree. And the comedy for me comes from that, trying to basically poke him into action and all the ways he moves around it. And it's very interesting. There's a point in the play where he meets the Prime Minister meets the EU negotiator, and something is asked of him, which the response from the UK audience is like amazingly. It's between being hit with a stick, being poked with a hot poker, and laughing in a graveyard at the same time.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So you've all got like sort of comedy in your roots, again through the Archers as well. Again, it's still straight play, and it has its moments in terms of comedy, in terms of sitcom, of course. And then, of course, Mike, you've been involved in Who's Line for a number of years,
Yes.
and also done improvisational comedy.
Yes.
From your perspective, Tom, was it hard to sort of assemble a cast? Did it have to be comedy at the roots in terms of your cast?
I've always been interested in comedy. Almost all the stuff I've done has been comedy, and even when I'm working on something which has a more serious intent, I like there to be some laughs in it. I think it's one of those nice things that you can leaven a serious piece with laughs in the same way that hopefully you can ground a funny piece with some serious points to make. And I'm really, really lucky, first of all, to have good mates in the comedy industry who are happy to turn up and act in my plays. And also, this is my first time working with Tim, but it's been an absolute delight so far.
Well, likewise. Seriously, it's an absolute joy for me. I've been, I've been in the Archers for 36 years, but I do a lot of TV and films and voice stuff, and I earn my money. But this is something new for me to be. This is the first kind of real lead in a really good, proper play for a long time, and it's just a joy. And he's a good director.
It's very reassuring if you send a script on spec to somebody with Tim's CV, and it comes back saying, "I'd love to do it."
In a way, it's fair to say that would you say you're a fan of Billy Wilder and Neil Diamond? as a writing team.
100%.
And those guys were masters at giving you a good human story. It could be in a world of politics or business, the apartment. And it's funny, but it's human, and the relationships are based on how we get around or get through to each other. And that does remind me a bit of you guys' work. And so that's a good thing. When I read it, I was like, this is great. My buddies in LA who are screenwriters, they looked at the script and they're like, hey, this is great, man. And I was like, there you go. I'm sold.
Is that how you just got involved with the project? 'Cause you're saying you had some comedy mates in terms of that. Did you
first meet, Mike?
Yeah, how did you?
10 years ago?
10 years ago.
Okay.
10 years ago.
Okay.
They bought me off with a nice meal, and I've loved it ever since.
Brilliant.
Because our background is in comedy improvisation as well.
Yes.
The company that we started began life as a comedy improv company. These days it's more a theatre company and a podcasting company, as well as a corporate training and speech-making company. But yeah, I've been in that world for 20 years. I remember watching Mike on TV when I was a teenager.
John Logie Baird had just invented
Oh, really? Okay. Is that just after then? Yeah.
The great thing, I think, is that you are very organized, and he is not like trying to throw himself out the window at any measure when it's all going up in the air. But also you're completely free, and you let us have our headway. But your language, you and Robert's language is precise, and it's all. I work with guys who want to be loose and they just can't. But you seem to know how to do it well.
Yeah, some of the lines during rehearsal, as you're learning them, we've been paraphrasing them, and then brought back. This is what the script is and everything. And the reason for that is not being kind of any other reason than for the fact that it works better when you do the lines as written, because they're written beautifully, carefully, and there's a rhythm to them. And if you don't do that rhythm, it's okay, but it's much better if you get them absolutely accurate. Should add, actually, by the way, we haven't mentioned yet, the other comedy talent in the programme is that we got some serious comedy talent in Hal Cruttenden and Joe Caulfield and Pippa Evans, who are top comedy people, and I'm learning a lot about comedy from them, which is great.
So it's a good team.
Was a lot of the sort of process, because again you're saying it's very much written and you follow the sort of story as you go along. It was, because you're all like comic minds at heart, did a lot of it sort of come from that improv throughout rehearsals? Was there any sort of bits added in that, or was it all very much to the script? Did you always think that's where it should sort of...
Like Tim said, in the beginning you start paraphrasing and you realize, no, this is the adverb you need to use.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff to give a definition. And of course, in the writing is comically precise, so you've got to say that way, so the next thing linking up fits snugly to allow then air for a joke to time in right. And so all through that, but no, there's no, and because I work with directors, they don't want, are you going to improv? No, it's your script. Unless it completely, sucks on a level the dogs can only hear, I'm going to do the lines.
Yes.
It may be a ways till I get to I'll do the lines.
Have you travelled to show out in other venues already? Is this your first?
Just two previews in London, and adding to the excitement, one of the drawbacks of engaging this calibre of cast is availability is always an issue.
Yeah.
So we had some quite significant availability issues where rehearsals were concerned, and had to structure rehearsals quite carefully to make sure we could get through everything. But we didn't have the complete cast for either preview. Okay. So shout outs to Adam Astill and John Dorney, who learnt the lines, God bless them, learnt the lines in order to stand in for Mike and for Hal for one night only.
Wow.
So we did those two previews in London, but actually the show that we're going to do in about an hour's time will be the first time that these 5 people have done the show in front of an audience.
Yeah,
wow.
and he's thrown us some new lines at the last minute as well.
Of course, just one or two little improvements.
So no pressure.
No, you can accept the challenge. Now, again, based on Brexit going on at the moment, you're saying that you have to keep things current. It's quite, anything could happen due to when this gets broadcast. Something may happen, you never know, but anything can happen. It's totally, everything's all over the place in terms of Brexit at the moment. Was it difficult sort of keeping it fresh every time when you were like writing, you were like creating a scenario or a scene in terms of that, and then saying like, oh, that's just happened in terms of what's happened in the news? Was it sort of adapted that way?
Well, in many ways that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
We went down a lot of blind alleys in terms of the concept before we finally got this nailed. And so what we've done is set it about, a little bit vague about this, but about 2 or 3 years in the future.
Okay.
So provided a couple of key predictions do come to pass, then this should be current for at least a year, I would say.
Okay.
But that's the trick. Set the play in the future, and make some fairly, I think, high probability predictions about what's going to happen over the next year, 18 months.
So a bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, and we also say, if something does happen that completely rips up the concept of the play, then giving 5 actors an entirely new script to learn would be very good PR.
Yeah, of course. And again, you're adapting today, as you say, they're adding bits and bobs, so you could cope, definitely.
Sure.
And while you're here in Edinburgh, are you seeing anything else? He's looking forward to seeing any other comedians?
Quite a bit of stuff, but I quite honestly have not put everything down. Because, it's like you want to get the boat out once and go, all right, now I can concentrate on this.
Yeah.
I'm doing Paul Merton's improv shows, mid of it, for like 10 dates. And that's set. And then a lot of other things I couldn't say yet. It's the beginning.
Are you thinking about bringing? Because you did Whose Line is it anyway? Like the last couple of years, you did. I think it was last year.
Last year it was
with,
done here,
Clyde,
yes.
And you did it a few years back as well.
Yeah, it was called Who Cares What the Name of the Show Is Anyway.
That's right. Yeah, the sort of one that you couldn't get the sort of. No, you a nice sort of retelling of Whose Line. Is that a good way to put it?
That's a nice way to put
there
it.
We go.
And then you don't have to call a lawyer. It's
exactly,
fantastic.
That's what I mean. But would you ever consider bringing that back to the Fringe again, or you've got any plans to do that?
There'll always be improv, but improv has grown. Whose Line branched the Spontaneity Shop, him and Deborah. You got the Showstoppers, and all these are very different from Whose Line because it has to become sophisticated.
Yeah.
What improv can never lose is the merry chase that's in the live working of improv, where you're ahead a little, they're ahead a little, you're ahead, and you don't have a plan, a script to keep yourself slightly ahead or behind.
Yeah.
It's in the engagement between the performers, which the audience enjoys, and it's an art form of its own that employs the audience wanting you to succeed in a way. And as long as that's there, I don't care what form it is. I'll go see it and I'll extol it because I think it's one of the greatest art forms, to a degree, quite a modern art form, that your United Kingdom has actually boosted up farther than to a degree than we have in the US.
And what about you guys? Are you seeing anything else while you're here in Edinburgh?
I will be doing, the great joy of this is we're doing it at lunchtime, so that all of our evenings are free to be able to go and do everything else. We've got a pass here which allows us to go and see everything at the Pleasance, so we're going to go and do all that.
Yeah.
And I've got mates up here that I want to go and see and get to see their shows, so I'm really looking forward to that. Well, there was nothing on last night, so I went to see Mission Impossible. Just thought, let's get that in at the IMAX. Edinburgh. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're all hyped up. We're about to start jumping out of helicopters left, right and centre.
Yeah, you were saying we should have a helicopter arrive in this interview. I think I would spice it up a bit, definitely. And lastly, what would you say is the sort of thing that people will take away from the play in terms of Brexit? Do you think it's a sort of realisation of what's to come in terms of foreshadowing, or do you think it's sort of seeing the comic side of things in a way?
Nostradamus? Yes. What say you?
I think because our approach ultimately, I said we went down some blind alleys, our approach ultimately was to create this as political character comedy using Brexit as a springboard.
Okay.
And the reason I think it works is because fundamentally Brexit presents any UK Prime Minister with an insoluble problem.
That's the thing.
There really are no good alternatives, and so that's a horrible position for people who live in this country to be in, but it's quite amusing to watch somebody twisting in the wind.
Yeah. From my point of view as the PM, there is nothing. I don't want to spoil the end of it, so I won't. But it's just what I'm thinking all the way through is how do I get out of this mess? And that would be true of any Prime Minister of any political party at the moment. So that's how it is at the moment. How do you get out of this? Either one way, either the soft Brexit or the hard Brexit or whatever kind of Brexit. At the moment, it seems to be an insoluble problem. It may resolve itself in the future, during the run of this play or after it. But at the moment, I think the audience is going to go, yep.
We're in that.
They're going to go, they'll be entertained and you'll laugh and you might come away with some, political ideas about, a rethink of something that you might have thought, maybe, I don't know. But the main thing is that it's funny and it's clever. It's a clever play. It's written by political insiders. It's not written kind of just by somebody who's read the newspapers.
Yeah.
It's written by people who know what they're talking about and have got a great sense of humour and have got an ability to write very cleverly structured theatre piece in an hour and a quarter. It's good.
I say you'll leave your cares behind, but you'll remain transfixed the entire play.
Yeah.
So,
Brilliant. Well, we can't wait to come along. Brexit is happening here at Pleasance Courtyard, and it's running every day of the Fringe. Near
Is that
enough.
the 13th to 20th, yes.
13th and the 20th.
1:30 p.m.
1:30 p.m. There you go. So again, you can buy tickets online on the Ed Fringe website, also on the Pleasance website. Brexit here at the Pleasance Courtyard. Thanks a lot, guys.
So,
Thank
Callum,
you.
let's talk about the NHS now.